The bass from the speakers vibrated through the marble floor of the penthouse, a synthetic heartbeat for a party that had no soul. Jide J.D. Adeoti, the reluctant guest of honor, stood on the balcony, the warm, humid Lagos night air doing little to cool his frustration. Below him, the lights of Victoria Island glittered like a carpet of scattered diamonds, a kingdom he owned but felt no connection to. It was his 29th birthday, and the celebration felt more like a business merger. Men in starched collars talked loudly about stock options, while women in dresses that cost more than a car cast speculative glances his way, their smiles as bright and hard as the jewels on their necks. He felt like a prize, a commodity to be acquired. His mother, a formidable woman wrapped in gold lace and tradition, found him there.
"Jide, my dear, why are you hiding?
Senator Okoro's daughter is here. She just finished her master's in London, you know." Her voice was sweet, but the intention was steel. Jide forced a smile that didn't reach his tired eyes. "I'm just getting some air, Mama." She patted his arm, her bangles clinking softly. "You are 29. It is time to find a good wife, a suitable partner to stand beside you. Your father and I—" Jide cut her off, his voice softer than he intended. "I know, Mama. I'm trying, but trying felt like drowning." He wasn't looking for a suitable partner. He was looking for a reason to breathe, for a single person who saw the man, not the multinational corporation he represented. Later, after the last of the sycophants had departed, Jide sat in his silent living room, the city lights now feeling less like diamonds and more like the cold, distant stars. His head of security, and only true friend, Boogaloo, a large, imposing man with a gentle face, stood by the door.
"Another successful party, Oga," Boogaloo said, his voice a low rumble.
Jide let out a bitter laugh.
"Successful? Boogaloo, did you see them?"
"They look at me and their eyes are like calculators, adding up my net worth." He stood up and paced the room, the frustration coiling in his gut. "How will I ever know? How will I ever find someone who doesn't see the name Adeoti before she sees Jide?" He stopped, his eyes landing on Boogaloo's simple, unbranded uniform. An idea, reckless and terrifying, began to bloom in his mind.
"Boogaloo, I want to disappear."
The words hung in the air between them. Boogaloo's professional calm finally broke.
"Oga, what are you saying? Disappear?"
Jide's eyes were alight with a desperate fire. "Not forever. An experiment. I want to be normal. A nobody. I want to strip all of this away," he gestured at the opulent room, "and see what's left. See who would talk to me then." Boogaloo, ever the protector, began to list the risks, the dangers, the sheer insanity of the idea.
But Jide was resolute. "Find me a small apartment in Surulere.
Get me a job, something simple, anonymous. A dispatch rider, a mechanic, I don't care. No more JD. From tomorrow I am just Tayo." The plan was madness. It was a leap into the unknown. But for the first time all night, Jide Adeoti felt a flicker of hope. The transformation was jarring. The gleaming Bentley was replaced by a slightly battered, red Bajaj motorcycle. The tailored suits were swapped for jeans and a t-shirt from a market stall in Yaba, the fabric rough against his skin. Jide, now Tayo, looked in the mirror of his new, sparse one-room apartment.
The man looking back was a stranger. Tired, ordinary, anonymous.
He spent a week learning the chaotic dance of Lagos traffic from the perspective of an Okada rider. The blaring horns and swerving Danfo buses, a world away from his soundproofed luxury vehicles. His hands, usually soft from a life of delegation, quickly became calloused. He was no longer a king surveying his city from a glass tower. He was a part of its frantic, pulsing, street-level reality. His first official delivery for the pharmacy was to a place called the Reading Nook Café. He navigated the bustling streets of Surulere, the address a note tucked into his pocket. He found the place on a quiet side street, a splash of color and calm in the middle of the city's noise. Climbing off his bike, he grabbed the small paper bag containing the medicine. He felt a nervous flutter in his stomach. This was it. The first real test. He pushed open the door, a small bell chiming his arrival, and stepped out of his old life and into the complete unknown, hoping to find something there worth more than all the billions he'd left behind. The small bell above the door chimed a gentle announcement of his arrival, a sound utterly alien to the harsh blare of car horns that had been his soundtrack for the past week. Tayo stepped inside, and the frantic energy of the Lagos street immediately fell away, replaced by a profound calm. The air was cool and smelled of brewing coffee, old paper, and a hint of lemon polish. Wooden shelves, crammed with books of every size and color, lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Soft, instrumental high-life music played from a hidden speaker, a gentle rhythm that seemed to slow his racing heart. In a city built on noise and speed, this place felt like a sanctuary, a secret garden of words and peace. A woman behind a simple wooden counter looked up from the book she was reading, and her smile was as warm and welcoming as the room itself. "Welcome," the woman said, her voice as pleasant as the music. "Can I help you?"
Tayo felt momentarily speechless.
In his other life, greetings were either demands or slick calculations. This was simple, open, and kind.
"Good afternoon," he managed, his voice a little hoarse.
"I have a delivery for Amara Obi." The woman's smile widened. "That's me. You can bring it here." As Tayo approached the counter, he noticed another young woman sitting at a small table near the window. She was beautiful, with vibrant hair and a stylish top, but her face was a mask of boredom as she scrolled furiously through her phone, her thumb moving with practiced speed. She glanced up at him for a fraction of a second, her eyes sweeping over his simple clothes and delivery box with utter disinterest, before returning to the glowing screen. The dismissal was so complete it was almost comical.
"Here you go," Tayo said, placing the small paper bag on the counter. Amara took it, her fingers briefly brushing his. The touch was electric. A jolt of simple human contact that felt more real than any handshake over a billion naira deal. "Thank you so much," she said, her dark, intelligent eyes meeting his. "You saved me a trip. My mother needs this." For a moment he forgot his lines. Forgot he was Tayo the delivery boy. He was just Jide, a man looking at a kind woman in a room full of books. He found himself saying, "You have a beautiful place here. It's peaceful." Amara looked genuinely pleased. "Thank you. That's the idea."
A small island of peace in the Lagos Ocean.
The woman at the table, Kemi, let out an exaggerated sigh, loud enough for them both to hear.
"Amara, are you serious? The man is here to drop something and go, not to give a review." Before Amara could respond, the sound of a roaring engine followed by a loud, bass-heavy hip-hop beat shattered the cafe's tranquility. A flashy white Mercedes G-Wagon, a car completely out of place on the quiet street, pulled up to the curb. The driver's door opened, and a man emerged, dripping with confidence and designer logos. Kemi's face transformed instantly, the bored mask replaced by a dazzling, high-wattage smile.
"TJ!"
she squealed, grabbing her handbag. The man, Tunde, strode in, the scent of his expensive, overpowering cologne arriving before he did. He was handsome, in a sharp, predatory way, a smirk permanently fixed on his lips as he surveyed the small cafe with disdain. He walked straight to Kemi, completely ignoring Amara and Tayo as if they were part of the furniture. "My sugar baby," Tunde boomed, pulling Kemi into a one-armed hug and kissing her loudly on the cheek. "You ready to bounce? I've booked us a table at the Pearl. We can't be seen in this place." He wrinkled his nose as he looked around. Kemi giggled, completely enthralled. "Of course, baby. I was just waiting for you." Her eyes met Amara's, and she gave a little shrug that was both an apology and a boast. Tunde finally acknowledged Amara with a curt nod.
"Book girl, you still to sell book?"
It wasn't a question. It was a dismissal. He then glanced at Tayo, his eyes lingering for a second on the pharmacy's logo on his shirt. A look of contempt flashed across his face. "Make sure you lock door wello," he said to Kemi, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You no know who to walk about for this area." Tayo felt a surge of anger, hot and sharp, but he bit it back. This was the test. This was the reality he had wanted to find. He was a nobody, and men like Tunde felt entitled to walk all over him. He watched as Tunde, his arm wrapped possessively around Kesmi, led her out of the cafe, their loud laughter echoing behind them. The bell chimed again, and they were gone, leaving a trail of bitter perfume and a heavy silence in their wake. Amara sighed, the sound full of a quiet sadness and frustration. She looked at Teo, her eyes apologizing for her friend's behavior and her guest's arrogance. "I'm sorry about that," she said softly. Teo just shook his head, a small, sad smile on his face. "Don't be. It's Lagos." He turned to leave, the peaceful feeling of the cafe now mixed with a new, complicated resolve. His experiment was no longer an abstract idea. It now had a face, a voice, and a heart. And he knew, with absolute certainty, which one he wanted to get to know better. For 2 days, the memory of the Reading Nook Cafe was a persistent hum beneath the noise of Tayo's new life. The image of Amara's kind eyes was superimposed over the chaotic traffic of Ikorodu Road, and the scent of old books seemed to linger in the air long after the exhaust fumes of the Danfo buses had faded. He knew it was ridiculous, unprofessional. He was supposed to be observing, experimenting, not getting drawn to the first kind person he met. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling. On the 3rd day, he convinced his contact at the pharmacy to let him deliver a restock of simple supplies, painkillers, vitamin supplements, to the cafe, arguing it was on his route. It was a flimsy excuse, and the nervous thumping in his chest as he pulled his motorcycle up to the quiet side street told him this was about far more than a delivery. The bell chimed again as he entered, and his heart leaped when he saw her behind the counter, arranging a small vase of vibrant hibiscus flowers. She looked up, and a slow, genuine smile spread across her face upon recognizing him. "You again," she said, her tone warm and teasing. "Is my mother ordering things every day now?" Tayo felt a laugh bubble up, genuine and unstifled. No, just a small restock for your first aid kit." He placed the bag on the counter, but instead of leaving, he lingered, his eyes drifting to the towering shelves behind her. "I was thinking about what you said," he began, feeling a boldness he hadn't possessed in years. "About this place being an island. It's true." He pointed to a worn copy of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. "You have some powerful magic on these shelves." Amara's eyebrows rose in surprise and delight. "Achebe? Not many people who come in here appreciate the classics." She leaned against the counter, her posture inviting conversation. "Most people want the latest self-help book or some American bestseller. What do you like about it?" And so they talked. For 20 minutes, the delivery forgotten, they spoke of Okonkwo's tragic pride, of post-colonial identity, of the power of stories. Tayo felt a part of his brain, long dormant and buried under spreadsheets and board meetings, spark back to life. He wasn't J.D. Adeoti, the tech mogul, making calculated conversation at a gala. He was Tayo, a man talking to a woman about things that mattered, and she was listening, really listening, her eyes bright with shared understanding. He felt seen, not for his wallet, but for his mind. The bell chimed harshly, cutting through their easy rapport. Kemi swept in, phone already pressed to her ear. She was dressed to the nines, in a tight dress, and heels clearly not meant for walking on Surulere's uneven pavement. "No, he's not here yet," she said into the phone, her voice sharp with annoyance. "I've been waiting for 10 minutes. She ended the call with a frustrated sigh, and turned, finally noticing Tayo still standing at the counter, deep in conversation with her friend. A look of profound irritation crossed her face. "Amara!" she snapped, completely ignoring Tayo. "Are you still talking to this dispatch boy? I'm sure he has other places to be." The words were coated in condescension, each one a carefully aimed dart intended to put Tayo back in his perceived place. Amara's smile vanished, replaced by a flush of anger. "Kemi, that is enough," she said, her voice low but firm. "His name is Tayo. And we were having a conversation," Kemi scoffed, turning her disdainful gaze on Tayo for the first time. "A conversation? About what? The traffic at Ojuelegba?"
Honestly, Amara, have some standards. What would TJ say if he saw you entertaining? This? She gestured vaguely at Tayo's simple clothes and the delivery box he'd left on the floor. The insult was no longer veiled. It was a direct, brutal assault on his dignity, meant to wound and humiliate. It was the voice of every person he had ever suspected of judging him by his cover, now made real and sharp and ugly in this peaceful little shop. For a long moment, the only sound was the soft high-life music, now sounding tragically out of place. Jide, the billionaire, wanted to lash out, to put this arrogant woman in her place with a single, cutting remark that would reveal the foolishness of her judgment. But Tayo, the dispatch rider, did something else. He simply looked at Kenami, his expression not angry, but filled with a sort of calm pity. Then he turned to Amara, and the warm smile returned, just for her. Thank you for the conversation, Amara. It was the best part of my day. He gave a polite, almost formal nod that included them both, picked up his empty delivery box, and walked out of the door, the bell chiming his dignified retreat. The insult stung, yes, but beneath the sting was a feeling of profound clarity. Kemi had just handed him the proof he'd been searching for, and Amara, in her quiet, fierce defense, had shown him what true worth looked like.